a question a problem that we need to solve. And the question is, Rootman has those online. Can they hear me? Okay. So Rootman has full access to historical returns of X and Y as shown in the table below. So we have the various years from 2000 to 2004. We also have returns of asset X in percentage. We also have returns of asset Y also in percentage. So when we look at the returns on asset X, it starts from 6.6 up to 14%. And the return on asset Y, it starts from 24.5% up to 14.8%. Now, the preamble says that, meanwhile, out of his income, or out of 30,000, he is spending one third to repay his debt. Same fraction on food expenditure. Rootman further spends 1,000 cedis on the cost of hiring a financial risk analyst for his service. The last slide. So for his service on where is it? Rootman further spends 1,000 cedis on the cost of hiring a financial risk analyst for his service on estimating the precise correlation between X and Y as negative 0.51. In terms of Rootman's investment option, he is investing 5,940 cedis on the remaining income on assets X. Using this information, estimate the overall portfolio return and Rootman's risk exposure. So this particular question is quite clear and straightforward. So it says we should estimate the portfolio return and portfolio risk for this particular investor named Rootman. So we have, so ideally, precisely to say two share or two security situation. So we have an investment one, which is on the X as is a share or an asset. We also have an investment Y. So this particular investor has decided to invest in this particular two shares. And he has an income, overall income of 30,000 Ghana cedis. And out of his income, he's apportioned it as follows. So when you look at it, he's not investing all the 30,000 cedis in asset X and asset Y. Is that not it? So when you look at this particular question, let's break it down. One, the overall income, which is Y, is what? It's 30,000 cedis. It's 30,000 cedis. And he's spending 1/3 of his income to do what? To pay debt. Is that not it? So debt, those online, can they see what is on the board? Okay. Debts. I'm not going to solve this question. I just want to give you that will be your assignment, but how to go about it. Debt service is what? 1/3. Is that not it? 1/3 of what? Of 30,000. And he's also spending, where is the second one? Same fraction on what? On food expenditure, which means that food expenditure is also what? 1/3. Food expenditure is also what? 1/3. Is that not it? Okay. And then the other one is what? And he's also going to spend 1,000 cedis on the cost of hiring an expert. So in this case, he wants to invest and he wants to diversify the risk. Is that not it? And like I mentioned, diversifying the risk entails investing in assets with negative correlation coefficient. Is that not it? But he cannot tell whether the assets that he's investing in have negative correlation coefficient. So he hired someone to do the analysis and then estimate the correlation coefficient for him at a fee. And the fee for that particular service is what? Is 1,000 cedis. Is that not it? So fee Muda, don't you have the fee for that particular service is what? Is 1,000 cedis. So out of this 1,000, out of the remaining, he's interested in now investing part in X and the remaining in what? In Y. Is that not it? So which means that these are the necessary expenditure that you need to take out from the income, and then I've used the remaining as the investment what income. What we are seeing here as 30,000 is not the investment income. Are we together? Because he still has certain expenditure or certain items to spend on before you send the remaining to invest. Are we together? So which means that we need to deduct all this from this one, from the total income, before we get the overall investment what income. So in this particular case, the overall, I'm just going to summarize before we do the others. So the overall investment income, okay, the overall investment income, the overall investment income will be what? The total income is that not it? Will be the total income, okay, minus what? 1/3. Is that not it? Times 2. Is that not it? It's just this one. Because the same fraction. So times 2 plus what? Plus 1,000. So the total investment income will be this 30,000. Is that not it? Minus what you will find here. So it is that particular remaining that you will then use to apportion the remaining investments on it. Are we together? Are we together? Okay. So I'm not going to solve because it's the assignment. So what I'm going to solve now is to just remove this particular component from this side to this side. In other words, I'm just going to remove 1, 2, 3, and assume this is the investment income. Are we together? Are we together? But the assignment is going to be like this. Okay, then you work out. Assuming you do everything, 30,000 minus blah, 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 blah. Assuming it gives you maybe roughly around 18,000. Example. So this will be the investment what income. And that investment income, they are saying he's investing how much on X? 59 what? 40 on X. So that is how much he's investing on X. 5940. So how much will he be investing on Y? Will be what? The remaining. So you realize that the question is actually silent on how much is invested in what? In the other asset. But we have a hint that out of his investment income, he's investing 5,946 on X, which means the remaining will be invested in the other asset, which is what? Y. So the remaining will be the 18,000 minus what? 5,940. So that will be the investment what income. Okay, then you then do the fraction. So let's now solve it. But I'm just giving you a hint as to how to go about with the what? With the assignments and the exam. Any question? So now let's work. Let's work. Is it clear? Is it clear? Okay. So we will work. So now let's work. Let's work it out. So in this particular situation that we are going to use, we will use the same set of example. Okay. This is actually the complicated side. We will use the same set of example, but we are just going to assume that the investor called Rootman is investing all the 30,000 in X and then what? Y. In X and Y. Okay. So now let's solve it. So total investment income in this particular situation will be what? Will be equal to his total income. Is that not it? So the total investment income will be equal to his total what income. Remember I said we are assuming he's investing all in X and Y. So in this case, he doesn't have any debt to pay, he doesn't have any food expenditure to incur, and he doesn't have anyone to pay for his expect what advice. Even if that expect advice is there, at least you should definitely be subtracting it from his total income. But in this our situation, we are assuming there is nothing like that. Okay. So his total income will be equal to the total investment what income. And we are told that he is going to invest how much in X? 5, 5, 9, 40. Is that not it? So the question is also silent on how much he's investing in what? In Y. But you should know that the investment in Y will now be equal to what? 30,000 minus 5, 9, 40. So 30,000 minus 5, 9, 40 will give us what? 14. Huh? 24. So this is how much he's investing in what? In Y. Remember first, I said you don't use the absolute amount. So in this case, we are to estimate for what? Return and estimate the what? The risk. Okay. So first, estimating or calculating portfolio return. Is that not? That's the first tax. So in portfolio return, we say we will denote it by what? RP. That's the portfolio return. And the portfolio return, please note, the portfolio return is what? The weighted, or you can use alpha, whatever that we're using. This one will be what? How much is invested in what? X. So here we can put X here. Is that not it? Times the return on what? On X. That's the mean return on X. Plus the weighted of what? Y. That's the proportion invested in Y. Is that not it? Times the average return on what? On Y. So in this case, we have the return stemming from X and then the return stemming from what? From Y. So these are the unknowns. So we need to solve for the unknowns. We need to solve for the unknowns. So in this case, our weighted average or the amount spent on what? On X will be what? The proportion spent on X will be, is that not it? 5, 9, 40, all over what? All over 30,000. That's the total. So that is the fraction spent on what? On X. So this fraction will be what? This fraction will be what? This divided by this. This divided by this. What will we get? 5, 9, 0.198. Excellent. And then WY. So you remember in this typical case or the assignment, the amount invested in what? In X will be 5, 9, 40. Is that not it? All over, not this one in the assignment, but the solution after deducting the expenditures. Okay. So amount invested in Y. If you want, you can just put 1 minus this one. It will be the same thing. Is that not it? So 1 minus this one. But let's just follow this one. So it is what? 24060 all over 30,000. All over 30,000. 0.802. That's good. If you don't want to waste time in writing this one, the amount invested in Y will simply be 1 minus amount invested in what? In X. So which will be 1 minus 0.198, which will give you the same thing. Which will give you the same thing. Because the proportion spent on X plus the proportion spent on Y should be equal to units, which is 1. So now we have this one. Is that not it? That's proportion of fraction spent on X. We also have this one. That is the fraction spent on what? Y. What we don't have is the return on X and then return on what? On Y. So we calculate for the return, the average return on X and average return on Y using the table. Using the table. Using the table. So I'm going to cancel this side. Okay. So in this part, we have a shortest way. I don't know which one you prefer. You just start drawing your table and plugging in the figures and the rest instead of solving them separately. Are we together? Instead of solving them separately, you know definitely in calculating for the risk and the rest, you will definitely be using the variance and the rest. So what I will suggest is for you not to separate the yes. Why did I choose 1 over? Okay, okay. So someone is answering. Okay, who will answer and take plus 5? Uh-huh. Plus 5 plus 5. So the IDs. Now, if you have your income, okay, and you want to spend on 2 things, and you are spending, example, 60% on X, and you are spending all your income on 2 things, and the other thing is Y, which means if you are spending 60% on X, the remaining is spent on what? On Y, and the remaining is what? Is 40%. So, which means that the overall is 100%. Is that not right? Which is 100% minus how much you have spent on the first one, which is what? 60%. So that will give you the 40%. Okay. So plus 5 plus 5. Okay. Okay, plus 2. Okay, so let's proceed. So in this case, we have X and we have what? Y. So let's do this. So we have this. We have this. Will you mind if I cancel here? Okay. So here will be what? Here will be X. Here will be what? Y. So how many years do we have? 2000 up to 2000 and what? 4. So it's how many years? So when we count, it's 5 years. So we can have maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the last one will take care of the totals. Is that not it? So this is X, this is Y. I've forgotten something. Here is the year. So here is 2000. Who can look for markers for us and take plus 10? Huh? Only the old then 2002, 2003. Okay, plus 10, plus 10. So that's the ice. Oh, plus 15. Now it's even clearer. Use matter is this. So plus, okay, plus 5 plus 5. Okay, so let's proceed. By the time I leave, I want to give 100 marks to students. So here will be what? 6 points. 6.6, 5.6. Negative 9 points. It's negative 9, okay. 12.6. 14.0. And then y will be what? 24.5, minus 5, minus 5.9, 19.9, minus 7.8, 14.8. That's good. Okay. So now we have the weighted, the fractions. So what we don't have is the what? Is the average. What we don't have is the average return for x. Is that not it? And the average return for y. So this one will be what? The summation of all the returns stemming from x. Is that not it? All over what? The number of years. So which means that we are going to add this one to this one, to this one, to this one, to this one. So here will be the total. And we divide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's sum it up. So instead of just wasting your time to write 5.6.6 plus 5.6 minus 9.0, blah, 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 all over 5 in the exam, please don't just waste your time. Just write the final answer and divide. Okay, just put your it. So it is also going to give you an opportunity to dip into someone's script and also write. But when you are caught, don't mention my name. Someone is asking a question. Yes, those online. A question. Is someone asking a question? Okay. So what is the total? 5.6 plus 5.6. 6.6 plus 5.6 minus 9 plus 12.6 plus 14.6, 14.0 or 14. What is the total? 29 point. Excellent. So 29.8 divided by 5. 5 point. Good. No, I'll put. I just want to finish here. So here we give us 5.96. 5.96. Remember, it is in what? In percentage. So here we'll do the return. So here will be the 20 what? 0.8. 29.8. So what we are seeing here is the summation of what? X, return on X. So let's do the other one, which is what? Y. So that one will also be return on Y will be summation of all the various returns from Y all over N. All over N. 5.96. 5.96. 5.96. 5.96. Okay. So here will be 45.5 divided by 5. 9.1%. So 9.1%. So here will be 45.5. Okay. 45.5. So now let's solve for the portfolio return, having estimated the various parameters. So our portfolio return will be what? X, return from X plus weighted Y, return, mean return from Y. So here will be 0.198 times 5.96 plus 0.802 times 9.1. So what will you get? So that is the so here is 0.198 times 5.96 plus 0.802 times 9.1. Oh, sorry. The final answer is 8 points. The final answer is 8.478%. Okay. So the portfolio return is 8.478. Has it been confirmed? Okay, that's good. So we have done the first part. So the second part is saying we should estimate the what? The risk exposure, which means we have to estimate the standard deviation for this particular portfolio. Is that not it? We have to estimate the standard deviation for this particular portfolio. Can I cancel here, marker? We thought we were bringing markers. Or you went to chop? Can I cancel here? Thank you. Where did you get this from? I'm giving marks for contribution, so it's price. Is it two markers, then plus 10? Plus 5. It's one marker. Which one? Huh? We are using it to find the mean and then the others. So that's why we are going to continue. So we are going to use it, this one is still from the question. We have just turned it. And this is the shortest way to estimate the means. So we add all, put here, then divide by the number of years that we have here. Divided by 5. Okay. So we estimate for the what? The risk exposure. So the risk exposure is the same thing as calculating for the portfolio standard deviation or the portfolio risk. Okay. And we know the risk of the portfolio is what? Is the weighted average from X, is that not it? Square. The standard deviation or the individual risks for X square plus the weighted average for Y, is that not it? Square plus the individual risks from Y square, plus the diversification side, which will be 2, the weighted average from X, weighted average from what? Y, the covariance, is that not it? The covariance, or if you don't want to go that route, it will be the correlation coefficient from X and Y, times risk from X, risk from Y, or square root. Okay. Okay. Are we together? Remember? Are we together? Okay. Can we make progress? Do we know this one, WX? We know it. Do we know this one, the risk from X? No. Do we know WY? Yes. Do we know this one? No. So we know this one, we know this one. Do we know the correlation between X and Y? Good. It's given in the question. Excellent. Negative what? 0.51. Do we know this one? No. Do we know this one? No. So which means that whereas the only items unknown are the risks from X and the risks from what? From Y. So that is what we have to calculate for. Otherwise, we can decide not to give you correlation, and you will still use this one to estimate for the correlation coefficient. Okay, but that one will you will need more time. So the correlation coefficient will be given to you. Any question? So in calculating for the risk, where is the distance? Can I cancel this one? In calculating for the risk from X will be equal to what? Return from X, is that not it? Minus the mean return from X, all over N square root. And then the one from Y will be equal to what? Return from Y all over the mean return from Y square all over what? N square root. In some books, they will write N minus 1, mostly if the number of years is less than 30. But some books, they just ignore it. Elsewhere, it can be N minus 1 if only N is less than or equal, is less than what? 30. No, it's greater. No, it's less, yeah. N minus 1 if it is less, if it has lower sample. But you just ignore it. So it's this one. So in this particular case, we need to know this one and we need to know this one. So that's why we have this. So in this particular case, we can put here as R minus what? This is for the X side, is that not it? We can put what? The square, just shortcut. Ry minus R square. So in this case, it's just going to be this side, is that not it? Minus the what? The mean, and we got the mean as what? 5.96, is that not it? That is the average return from X. And the average return from Y will be what? 9.1. So in this case, it's going to be 6. I'm just going to demonstrate only the first one and we can proceed. So it's going to be 6.6. Is that not it? Minus 5.96 all square, and you write the answer. Are we together? Uh-huh. So here will give us what? Can I cancel? Uh-huh. 6.6 minus 5 point what? 96. 0.40. Okay, 96. And then the other one, 5.6 minus 5.96 square. 5.6 minus 5.96 square. 0.1296. This one will be what? Minus 9 minus 5.96 square. So this one will be minus 9 minus 5.96 square. So after class plus 10, we are all relying on him. Okay. So will it be good if I give him plus 10? No, it's not true. It's what? 22. Okay. So here will be 12.6 minus what? 5.96. 12.6 minus 5.96 raised to the power 2. Point. Okay. Someone here almost misled us. Here, 12 minus 12.6 minus 5.96 raised to the power 2. 44.0. Okay, 896. Usually you can just round them to 2 decimal places. So here will be 0.41, 0.13, 64.64. Okay. So here, let me just round them off, or actually leave them since you have written already. You can just leave them in 2 decimal places. So let's do the other one. The other one will be what? The y. So here will be 24.5 minus what? 9.1 raised to the power 2. So whilst he's doing that, someone should be summing. Let's make the work easier for us. So here I'll make it 41, 0.41. Here I'll make this one 3. Okay. I'll make this one this. I'll make this one. I had the first one 237.16. Okay. So someone should be summing this side for us. Negative 5.9 minus 9.1 raised to the power 2. 225. Point what? Okay. So 19.9 minus 9.1 raised to the power 2. 116.64. The total, sir. 333 point. Thank you. Confirm. You go output. 28.61. The last one, 14.8 minus 9.1 raised to the power 2. 82.49. So the totals. 8.9. Okay, thank you. Are we together? So in this particular case, what we have found here, this one, remember here, I missed the sigma. Good. So we have to add. So what we have here is what we have here. And what we have here is what we have here. So in this case, here will be what? Point 0.07 all over n. And so n is what? 5. So what will we get? What will we get? 66 point, are we taking the square root? 8.16. Good. So this is the risk exposure stemming from X. So here will be what? 896. 896.9 divided by 5 square root. 13.39. So this is also this one. So now we know the risk, is that not it? And we know the correlation coefficient. So all the unknowns are now what? Knowns. So we can proceed with the total risk exposure from the portfolio. Total risk exposure from the portfolio. Can I clean here? Okay. Can we make progress? So from here, we come here. So our risk from the portfolio will be what? The weighted is what? 0 point from X, the fraction or the proportion invested in X. It was 0.1 something. 198, 0.198 square. 8.16 square. 8.16 square plus weighted from Y, 0.8 something. 02 times 13.39 plus 0.2 198 0 point. Minus 0.51. 8 point. All square. So that is it. It's as simple as that. Okay. When you start, you realize that it's not difficult. So you have to take your time to do it from the beginning. Because from the beginning, if you get something wrong, you realize that it will run a course. And I'll give you 0. I had the answer, you are still writing. Okay. A questionnaire. Some people are not making attempts to even give me answers. They are just writing. That's why you have extra marks. Yes. They are just writing. Those doing finance option, they should do more of these ones. Those doing finance, I'll tell your lecturers to do more of this one. HR is there, go and do HR. That's why I like the HR people. I'll tell the HOD to introduce mathematics of HR. So that some of you will run away. Okay. Any question? The exams will be 5 questions. Answer question 1 and any other 2. Question 1 will be very loaded. I think question 1 is 1.5 pages or 2 pages or so. Question 1. Question 1, this one will be part of question 1. No, it will be just 2. Oh, definitely. Any question? There is also another aspect. I don't know. Follow the finance people. Let them teach you. I don't know whether we should do it. You have what? The answer is what? 1. 00 point, okay. 10.012. Okay. So which means that which means that at the end of the day, this guy, Rootman overall portfolio return, it was 8 point something. Hmm? The overall portfolio return, 8 point, it was 8 point something, 8 point, 8.478%. And then the overall risk exposure is what? 10.012. Anything apart from this is zero. Any question? Any question? Yes. So in this case, so in this case, remember, we are now looking at the overall portfolio, okay, basket of what? Assets, Y and X. So in that basket of assets, Y and X, the pot, okay, will yield a return of, will yield an asset, a return on asset, you see it here, ROA, return on assets of what? 8.478% to who? To the investor. And the investor will be exposed to a risk of what? 10.12%. In some books, they say standard deviation do not have measurement. So you realize that I've not been adding percentages to it. But in some books, they will add percentages. Okay. You may not be wrong if you add or if you do not add. So this is how much you are going to earn, and this is the level of exposure that you should be getting. Now, one weakness of this measure of risk, which is the standard deviation. Remember, we said it is a traditional way of measuring what? Risk. Is one inwardly within the portfolio itself, okay? You will not be able to know the risk over time. For instance, you won't be able to know the risk in 2000, the risk 2001, 2002 separately, unless you look at the historical what return. What was the risk exposed to in 2000? You will not be able to tell. Is that not it? Because you can't calculate for standard deviation for only 1 year. Are we together? So that is a key what weakness, and that's why we have the modern ones like those that with the arch and the gauge, the patch. Those that we did just last week. Because I'll ask you to list them, to list at least 3 modern way of modeling. What is the weakness of what? Using the standard deviation as a measure of risk. Is that not it? And so the first weakness that I mentioned is you are not able to know the risk an investor is exposed to within a particular year without looking at the historical what trend. That is one. The second one is also one. It is not also able to give you, can I cancel this one? So I'll write it more clearly. Which side should I cancel? Okay. So weaknesses. So weaknesses of using standard deviation to measure what? to measure risk. So one, so with this one, we are unable to know the risk within within years. Within years. And two, you are also unable to know how your stock, okay, unable to know how your stock or assets, how your stock or assets, how your stock or assets are influenced by other risk factors. By other risk factors, I'm looking at the risks not only coming from the stock itself, but risks from other factors like the macroeconomic variables, business cycle risks, and the rest. So because of this weakness, we have the modern ones, and the modern ones actually control for these weaknesses. And the modern ones control for these particular weaknesses. For instance, the arch that we mentioned, the first one. Can I cancel this one? Can I cancel this one? Okay. You know, risk or standard deviation is also called volatility. Do you agree? It's also called volatility. It's unable to know. Using this one, you are unable to know how your stock or assets like X and Y are influenced by other risk factors. So with this one, that's why because of these weaknesses, we use the modern ones. Like I mentioned, the other one is the first one is what? The arch. When you refer to what is the name? What we did last week. We said it is the auto regressive conditional. Please note them because I'll ask you to list them. Conditional heteroscedasticity. Conditional heteros. Those doing finance, you should be able to model this one. So this is arch. Okay. So how do you no. This is rather provide a solution. So because of this weakness, we have the modern ones. So these ones are measures of volatility. Please note, like I said, risk is also looking at what volatility. For instance, when you look at the standard returns, okay, or risk, you will realize that in some, like when you look at Ghana Stock Exchange and the rest, you will find something like this. Are we together? A trend like this. Are we together? So this particular trend that you are seeing here over here, this particular trend that you are seeing is called volatility. It's called volatility. Okay. The standard deviation is not able to, if this is here can be 2000, 2001, 2002, and the rest. So you are able to know the standard deviation or the risk for each particular year that you are doing what you are looking at. Are we together? So this is called volatility. You can also call it volatility. Volatility clustering. This is called volatility clustering. This is volatility clustering. It's a modern way of measuring what? The risk. Okay. And in getting the volatility clustering, you can use the arch or the others. So let's proceed. Can we make progress? Okay. Ash is a way of measuring volatility or risk, which was introduced by, I think the name is Boleslev. 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 I think in 1984 or so. In 1984, I think it's Boleslev. So now, when you look at the return of an asset, the return of an asset, okay, the return of an asset, it says that that particular return that you are looking at also depends on what? On that particular return. In other words, how much you are going to make, the current return that you are going to make depends on what? How much you made, also depends on how much you made last year. You remember this thing? The previous return. How much you made this year also depends on how much you made last year. You remember this one, like previous period. In other words, how much you made this year, okay, it depends on how much you made in previous what years. Is that not it? So in this particular case, then return equation, we have what is called the return equation, will be equal to, the return equation will be equal to, this is a constant, plus how much you made last year, okay, now, plus other factors, plus other factors. So what we are seeing here is called the mean equation. This is called the mean equation. This is called the mean equation. This is called the mean equation. Or mean return equation. So mean return equation. So this is the mean return equation. What we're writing as R, this one, which is equal to this one all over what? And is this one, that's the mean return equation. Now the variance, that's the mean return equation. And the mean return equation has this particular thing. Those who know econometrics, I'm sure the finance guys will tell you this is called the error what? The error thing. Any other factors affecting the what? The return, that is not attributed to the return. Remember, we said this one. So this particular thing that you are looking at, the epsilon, is called epsilon, is this particular other risk factors. And that particular other risk factors, okay, is normally distributed with zero return and then what? Constant variance. So this is the variance that we are looking at. This is the variance that you are looking at. And that variance equation will now represent our risk equation for the portfolio. So this variance that we are looking at will now be what? Are we together? Same. I'm fasting, okay. Solve the assignment. So you don't want the marks that will come from this one too. Okay, no problem. Okay, so what I'm going to say is, this particular approach, okay, also has its weakness. And that particular weakness is also being solved by the what? The gauge. Are we together? And you know the gauge. Yes. And we also have the what? We also have the patch. And then we also have the value at risk and the rest. So exams, I will ask you to list them. After having listed the weaknesses, then you list. So go and know the meaning. We also have touch. The touch is threshold, value at risk. Value at risk. Okay, so go and learn some of these things. So these are measures of volatility. These are measures of volatility. So exams, I will ask you all the things we did today. Because we saw something which is coming. We've discussed the weaknesses of the standard deviation, which is coming. And we've discussed ways to control it, which is this one. So we just list for 2 marks. And that, I say if you go and look for it. We also have touch. You should go and look for it. For that's 5. Oh no, I will ask you to explain, but I'll ask you to list 5. I said if you look for them. 5. I'll ask you to list. In fact, I'll ask you to list 6. 6. You look for the other one for 3 marks. You write the full. For 3 good marks. 3 marks. 1 is half a mark. The questions are mean. I can distribute. Any question? Any question? Next week we are going to there is something that we should have done, but because we want to close early, we have what we call the CAPM, the capital asset pricing model. This is also very simple. You need to know it. It's about investment in risk-free returns. I don't know whether we have risk-free returns in Ghana anymore. Even the risk-free return that we think is interest, treasury bills, you are putting your money, you are not putting your money, you are not sure whether debt restructuring will catch it. Okay, but it's supposed to be risk-free. But at the moment, I don't know whether it's risk-free. There will be a question. No, I won't bring any question on CAPM, but I'll ask you to explain CAPM. CAPM, capital asset pricing model. Maybe I'll add it to the assignment. I will add it to the assignment. If I do that, I'm giving the finance guys some undue advantage, so I won't add it. You are in finance class. I won't add it. My HR people, I like the HR guys. So I won't add it. I won't add it. So please note, if a question like this is coming, it will be accompanied by the weaknesses, and it will be accompanied by this one. Are we together? Okay. That's one question. Please note that we have 5 questions. Answer 3. Question 1 will be compulsory. After question 1, you answer any other 2. And I said 1 question will be from the investment, dividend, finance, interrelationship, the decisions. Remember the table. But you don't have to draw that table in the exam. You have to give concrete examples. The second question will be on the assignment, one of the assignment questions, which will be on the efficient market hypothesis, which we did. Another question will be this one, okay, and this one. That's how many questions? 3. 1 question will also be on what we are going to do next week on investment analysis. The last question, question 5, will be on the dividend policy. and I'm sure it will be written so that the HR guys will write. It's about dividend payment. I have the HR guys attached. So usually when I fill my can I filter them and give them +5. Any question before we end the class? Those that I'm supervising, I don't know whether you have time for us to meet virtually either later today or any other time. Muda, have you recorded? Okay, so you recorded. And I think last week I didn't send my recording. Muda, I'll send it to you. Okay. Those that are giving us, please let me have the IDs. Eh? Yes. Those that are just look for one sheet and write the IDs and the marks attached. And I think yours is total is 15. 5, 5, 5. No, it was the other one. There are others. How much did you get? Business economy. Then, oh, then rupees, I have it already. But it doesn't mean you can't get additional.